Oh, no, hold on. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Calm down. Seriously. All right, here we go. Now for real. And go.
Happy hour. Night Attacks Happy Hour. Night Attacks Happy Hour. Dig.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you. It's time for happy hour, but guess what? It's just me for the moment. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody who's in the chat, everybody who's trained to show up right on time, because we don't mess around with happy hour. We just get right into it. As you guys know, Justin, it's Thursday. He's hanging around on DTNS. So rather than grab somebody to talk to, I'm going to do quite literally the thing that terrifies me the most, which is talk to you guys directly. Nobody else but you and me for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes until Justin shows up. Unless, perhaps out of nowhere, Justin decides it's more fun to tease me and make me sit alone for a one mic podcast. But we do have everybody who's in the chat room, and I suspect a ghost who has come in on our back channel audio program. I was just getting ready to hit go on this, and then all of a sudden I heard like a cough or a chuff or a door close or something, and I was like, hello? Is it a ghost? And I didn't get an answer. Holy cow, Sherwin Rocks Music is in the chat saying, hey, Brian, glad you're healthy again. Man, not only that, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing like having a disease that you genuinely fear might kill you to make you excited about and proud that you could walk a mile, then 2 miles, and then run and run and run. Today was a quote-unquote light day, and I only jog walked 8 miles. So that's exciting. Meanwhile, in the chat, Meryl Barr is reminding us that Queeby, Queeby, we hardly knew ye. For anyone who missed it, Queeby was a short-form narrative content distribution platform that was resoundingly mocked by yours truly and all of our friends through Cord Killers. And weirdly, I take no joy in the death of Queeby. Like, I mean, on the one hand, it does feel good to be right. On the other hand, that means it's over. And that means I don't get to howl about how I'm right and how this is a terrible idea. But yes, I do agree with the chat that we should bury Queeby with its golden arm. We should fulfill our promise that we will definitely bury Queeby with a golden arm. That is a reference that not everybody will necessarily get. Meanwhile, we got from the Ben Franklin, talk about this insanity. I actually don't know what this is, so I'm going to read it to you. It's from Twitter. Inku Kang is the Twitter handle. And the screen grab says, the Snyder Cut, due out on HBO Max next year, is currently undergoing additional photography. What was once supposed to be a $20 to $30 million completion of an already shot footage has turned into a potentially $70 million boondoggle for HBO Max. Holy cow. Bob Greenblatt, the Warner Media chief, won't commit to an actual number for the budget, but on Recode Media podcast, he called it, quote, wildly expensive, end quote, saying, I'll just say I wish it was $30 million and stop there. It's an enormous undertaking and very complex. The Snyder Cut is going to cost Warner Brothers a fortune on top of the fortune they already spent and lost on Justice League. All of this for a streaming service with under 5 million subscribers. This entire project is in no way magical thinking, and HBO Max is totally doing fine and is not at all desperate, I am sure. Can I throw this out there? I actually don't think this is a bad idea. And I tried to broach this subject on Cord Killers, and I don't know if it landed. Maybe I hadn't found the right words for it. Maybe I'll do it right now. But in a normal timeline, you have an ambivalent populace, and then you have a project, an artistic project, a narrative project of some variety. And then in order to cause a normal ambivalent populace to become engaged in it, you have to spend some amount of money. on high-end trailers, on distribution of the trailers, on associating it and paying agents to get people to retweet and all that stuff. Like there's some dollar amount that causes enough people to get excited that they come see the movie. The Snyder Cut of Justice League, and by the way, this is coming from somebody who has not watched the original Justice League and doesn't really have a dog in the fight either way. But when you have an organic groundswell of people freaking out about the idea of releasing a cut of a thing that's already shot and is there, then like I was trying to ask Tom, and I don't know that he took my bait on it, but I was trying to ask Tom Merritt, how much in an alternate timeline would it have cost to cause this level of enthusiasm? And in my mind, you're looking at $60 to $80 million of marketing. So in my mind, all of this is found money. It's all house money. It's all money they don't have to spend on a thing. And as a result, they shouldn't feel bad about spending for additional footage because they essentially have all the joy and excitement that normally it would cost $80 million to create. So why not spend $70 million on reshoots and all that stuff? Ben Franklin points out they already released the movie and everyone thought it was crap. They're putting a bow on the crap and spending twice as much for the bow. Maybe, but also what they're really doing is they're saying, who knows what's in the mystery box? Would you like to gamble again? And I think most people are. So, I don't know. In that regard, I would say certainly the safest thing would be to say you only get the footage that you shot, cut it, and then we're going to put it out. But if there's even, let's say, a 20% chance that shooting extra footage and rounding out the vision of Snyder seems like it's a worthwhile play, especially given that HBO Max needs literally any compelling reason for people to sign up for it. I have been enjoying exploring it because it was free. I would never on purpose pay for it. So that's where I'm at. Meryl Barr hits us up with a tweet saying Battlestar is going theatrical. Let me see what this says. It says, hold on. Battlestar Galactica is getting the big screen treatment with Simon Kinberg writing and producing. I'm actually unfamiliar with Simon Kinberg's work. But it looks like some kind of, is this, I'll ask the chat, is this a reboot? Or, man, it's hard to read an article live on the air. I don't know. We've got some comments in the chat talking about the mystery boxes. Yeah, that's something I could speak to. So everybody who participated in the Modern Rogue mystery boxes has been extraordinarily patient. You guys have run a marathon of patience. And I know that the internet is not in general accustomed to running a marathon of patience. So we have every single week written with an update. And we are finally at the point where we've reached out to the community, and it's been so awesome. We've had like longtime fans who have shown up for Scam Nation, Scam School Shoots, Mono Rogue stuff, and they're all like, yeah, no, whatever. Let's assemble this stuff and get it out right now. I think the first day we were able to move 100 units in a day. Then we got to 150, 170. Our goal is to get to 200 units a day, which would mean in about 2 weeks, we're able to get them all out. As we're doing it, it's a weird video game because we have to figure out, like, we did our best to figure out how to package everything to keep it safe, but also preserve that moment of you open it and you're just amazed and thrilled that you got this much stuff for only $49.99. But that may or may not be compatible with a way that everything shows up in one piece. So we are highly attuned for if anything shows up in anybody's mystery jackpot that is not 100% the way you hoped it would be, please reach out, because every little bit of data is extremely helpful to us. But so far it's great. ICU's asking about the cameos. I assume you mean there's sort of two to-dos. One, we had to press pause because one is for people who solved the second layer mystery of the Zeta Provocation Modern Rogue episodes that we did, the reward that we wanted to do is that Jason and I would call them, and that's easy to do when Jason and I are physically in the same location. Bit harder to do once Jason goes back home and all of a sudden we have to figure out how do we do this. So good news is I believe in 10 days we're going to start shooting again on Modern Rogue. So we'll all be here. So we're going to be able to get through the rest of those. The Founders Club is the other one where originally we talked about like everybody who donated. We sort of gave them a choice. It's like, hey, you can have a piece of the property, i.e. a rock that we go out and specifically hand select for you, and we number it and we sign a thing and we send it to you. Or if you'd like, we could do a video shout out, in which case we have a whole system set up where I could just shoot a video shout out. That's a little bit challenging for me to do on my own. And then the third option, which I'm totally thrilled and surprised, fully 1/3 of people said, don't give me nothing. Just take my money and say thank you. And in which case I say thank you, which is really a surprise. I don't know. I suppose it's not so much of a surprise because that's the way I am. Every time I ever donate to a Kickstarter, I always say, don't send me nothing. And then half the time they send me something anyway. I'm like, man, why'd you do that? I just wanted to give you money. But meanwhile, Umbre Soulsbane in the chat says that they love their rock. Nothing makes me happier. That is exactly the experience that I wanted you to have. Okay, so Ben Franklin asks, now that we've had 2 months from shooting, was it worth it to bank all the everything? Yes-ish. It's okay. Oh, man, we're coming up on a year of doing our best to get ahead, and instead the world just keeps coming at us. So the time that we were for reals ahead was when we were solely out of the warehouse. We were shooting podcasts in the spare bedroom, and I knew that was untenable in the long term. I knew that Bonnie was eager to get the operation out of the house. And we got half of it into the rented warehouse. And then we bought, the HQ, and we knew it was a fixer-upper. But my goodness, man, a year later, we'd run completely out of money. Then we started to have to borrow money to even, get up to code or whatever. And here we are going into this year. At the beginning of this year, it looked like we were going to get ahead. And then COVID hit. And various members of the team have various realities that they have to work around when it comes to COVID. And then eventually we figured out like, okay, well, we could do bursts. We could do a bubble. We can get people out. We can bank a bunch of stuff. And that was pretty good. We could almost get ahead. And then I caught COVID, which was, it was the first time in 10 plus years that I full on was like somebody who is not me just said, don't worry about anything. We got this. And me not knowing whether or not that was true, just was like, okay, I guess I'll ask. I guess I'll act like everything's going to be fine. I'm just going to work on getting better. And here we are a month later. And I don't know. On the one hand, I'm thrilled that we had a bunch of banked episodes. There's some stuff that went out that if I was here, I think I would have had a thought here or there on how to tweak or, this more invoice, that kind of thing or whatever. But meanwhile, my goodness, like I've never been able to be in a position to just hand over everything to everyone else. Like everyone who is not me, do your best. I'm going to be asleep with a fever watching Apple TV Plus. Also, everybody, as soon as you're done covering for me, everybody should watch Ted Lasso. So I'm very, very proud of the team. I'm a bit bummed insofar as, boy, I really would like to have some stuff banked and get ahead of schedule on all this. And fingers crossed, it looks like maybe over the rest of this year, we might be able to actually get ahead of schedule. But to your question, like, yes, it was 100% worth the effort to get a bunch of stuff banked. Man, it was terrifying. Man, it was hard. Man, feels kind of like we squandered it, but we made it. We're still here. We're still standing. So that's totally good. And that's on top of us doing all of the stuff like, the Night Attack Happy Hour and, Justin being able to just sort of declare, hey, man, Brian is literally laid out with COVID, so you'll get happy hour when and if we can do it. That was really a delight that the community was so patient and kind during that time. Okay, so let me see what else we got here. Good job, not Brian. Yep, everybody did great. Ted Lasso is indeed about the best thing from 2020. I'm sure we've already talked about this, but one of my favorite things about Ted Lasso is it was a little bit of a meta commentary because I watched it with my kids and I had no problem showing it to my kids. Ted Lasso technically is listed as TVMA, but there's no boobies, there's no sexual situations, there's abstract discussions about grown-up relationships and one-night stands and that kind of stuff, which is no surprise to anyone who's Generation X or, grew up in the 80s or whatever. But really, it's just the F word. Like, there's enough F words in it that it was TVMA, but man, oh man, like, do my children have no interest in using the F word? They're bored by it. And it's kind of barely not even a curse word. It's weird in my lifetime to have the mother of all mothers of curse words suddenly become toothless. Relatively toothless. Meanwhile, Fearless Free brings up The Boys. Yeah, The Boys is fairly explicit. My memory of The Boys was not as sanitized as the actual Boys experience was. Was more sanitized than the actual Boys experience was, because I started to show it to my 12-year-old, and to be honest, the first 4 episodes, as long as you're calling out the audibles as they come, where it's like, hey, this is a sexual thing, this is a whatever thing, just, whatever for when it's weird. But man, oh man, does it get bizarre later on. Here we got Justin Robert Young joining us. Yo, JRY, how are you, sir?
What up, fam? How you doing?
Hey, man. I just did a thing I've never done before. 18 minutes, just me and a mic. I did my best Justin Robert Young impression. I was really proud of you and proud of me for pretending to try to be you.
I'm proud. Yeah, no, that's awesome. How'd it go? What'd you talk about?
It was good. There was like maybe 4 prompts from the chat and just spoke about, we talked about banking episodes, having COVID, how everything's going, the mystery boxes, bit of Ted Lasso, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Hey, happy or sad that Quibi is finally over with? Because on the one hand, we were right, but on the other hand, we don't get to run around howling about how we were right.
I know, right? It's as soon as Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg are joining the Quibi is over party, I now no longer want to be at the party.
Right?
I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
Like it was better when we were counterculture. It was better when everybody was had their eyes closed and was pretending like this was going to be great.
Especially since it was like the safest bet on the planet.
Well, it really wasn't, because there was billions of dollars behind it. So in general, whenever it's your voice and your conviction about the fundamentals about what works and doesn't work versus billions of dollars, like even if you know you're right, you're still up against billions of dollars.
Sure. But we are also in a very chaotic market for what they were putting billions of dollars to. Yeah. And this is not the first time that a massive digital offering has failed, right?
Yeah.
And they were so, like, they were either gonna be really, 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 really right, or they were gonna be wrong. Like they in betting parlance, it's like the difference between betting on something straight up and betting a parlay. Are you familiar with a parlay?
Yeah, sure. That's where like you're betting the field, right?
No, a parlay is when you're betting 3 things to happen and they all need to happen, right? So I'm gonna bet.
Sorry,
Miami
I was thinking
to win. I'm
right.
going to bet Chicago to win, and I'm going to bet San Francisco to win.
Like a trifecta kind of situation.
Yes,
blank,
exactly.
Blank, and blank. Yeah.
And they all have to happen. And that's really what Quibi was doing, because like starting an online venture, risky, but look, Disney was able to do it. You probably need things that people already know. You need things that people are going to come in for. Might cost you a lot, but they certainly have a lot of money. Okay, mobile only. I guess, certainly mobile's where it's at.
And
Their thing was they wanted to be the luxury brand on that.
For-
And then it was like,
For what it's worth, I always perceive the mobile only to be sort of their fake opening bid, right? Where it's like you say you're one thing and you're only going to be one thing, but secretly, the moment we have success in this one thing, we're going to move to. I mean, it's like being sci-fi, right? We're the only science fiction network until we dominate that, and then we're going to start doing ghost hunting episodes.
sure, but even then, that was their initial play. So you
Right,
need success there, even if you were going to do the other thing. And then they had the like, oh no, and also everything is 6 minutes, and it comes out weekly, and you can't just binge it. And it's like, all right, so you are going to have to do a thing that's very, very business difficult. There's a reason why Disney got acclaim for making Disney Plus as successful as it was. They successfully microwaved the Netflix. Then you also have to be right on the fact that mobile is as big as you needed it to be, and people were willing to pay for it. And you have to be right that all of what we think we've learned about binging content and just being able to like sit back and watch a whole lot of one thing is wrong. And it's like, that seems, again, either you're going to be really right or you're going to be $2 billion wrong.
It was a pretty good paper tiger, though. I mean, in terms of dollars for artists, in terms of names, top names in the field, in terms of movers and shakers within Hollywood, it was kind of the Google Plus of content.
The problem that they had was, yeah, they got all the names and they got all of their fourth best ideas that everybody else had rejected. Like, so if you couldn't sell it to HBO and you couldn't sell it to Showtime and you couldn't sell it to Hulu and you couldn't sell it to FX and you couldn't sell it to Netflix, guess who's sitting there waiting with a gigantic pile of money that's like, oh, sure, yeah, but we get Thor, right? Thor's going to be in our thing. Yep. Who cares if it was rejected everywhere around town? We want that thing. And so, yeah, they had the names, but none of it was particularly good. And at that point, it's like, what would Disney Plus be without the Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Like Mandalorian had to hit for Disney Plus to be as big as it was.
Yeah, yes, definitely among adults, but I feel like you and I both have a blind spot as far as what that looks like in terms of a virtual babysitter for having kids.
And I'm not to say that Disney Plus wouldn't have succeeded, but to succeed at the level that they did,
right, as
like,
the respectability that they've achieved,
and immediately be a cultural zeitgeist, and like it takes a lot. Hell, Apple TV was always going to be this, maybe. And then they have Ted Lasso, and now Ted Lasso is going to win a bunch of Emmys, and Jason Sudeikis is going to be as big or bigger than he's ever been because everybody's talking about Ted Lasso.
Right.
Like, Netflix needed House of Cards. Like there are just like, when you're in that game, you're only going to be like, until you've got the thing.
Right.
And Quibi, by all accounts, never had the closest they had were ghouls like us laughing at poor decisions like the Golden Arm.
So
can we bury it with its golden arm? Can we bury
Quibi with
its golden arm?
Literally one of the opening bits in the monologue I did before you joined. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Same page. Same ties.exe. Speaking of which, I didn't realize I had never, like, as a parent, you realize you only get so many coupons to try to impress your kids, Yeah. And last night was one of those like half-hour windows where I felt like I could capture my kids' attention. And given the news around our friends, Auntie Donna, I suddenly realized, have I ever shown have I ever shown any of you Auntie Donna? And they were
Yeah.
like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. So we started with Bikey Wars and went into Bigoted Bill and then went into Same Ties. And then it was really, really great to show the show the Netflix trailer, but also like at no point did it ever occur to me to show us interviewing them or hanging out with them or whatever, because
really?
it was so much more important to me. Like this was one of those. Like there are times I want to try to impress the kids and be all like, "Hey man, your dad's kind of cool. Look at him doing this
Yeah.
thing." They never care. They never ever care or whatever. So it's like I gave up on that, and I just so anyway, these are our Australian friends. I think the last thing I got them to watch was the live Ellen sketch, which is amazing.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's just amazing. Although, really, there's a thing that I can't get out of my head. It was a YouTube comment. It was when they were doing the album, and they had a success with the Chuffed song.
Yes,
the
Chuff Dad.
Chuff Dad, which is like for them exceptionally wholesome, right? Like it is absurd, but in the realm of Auntie Donna, which can often get very explicit and bawdy, it was like fairly tame, family friendly, like,
Yeah.
oh, dads like dad things, right? And it didn't sacrifice anything artistically from them, but it was on that level. And the next one they did the video for was Professor Whiskers.
Oh my God. That was the one I was trying to remember. I'm like, what's the one where Mark is like disturbing and terrifying? And I did gather
And it was
in.
like the comment below was just like, my dad sees Chuffed. And then he's like, what else have these boys done?
I did manage to call Bonnie into the room just in time to watch the kiln instruction one.
Yeah.
Which I thought also was fairly wholesome and fairly it's a perfect one note gag. It's like a guy says don't do a thing, no matter how he phrases it, everybody does the thing. It's great.
The thing, yeah. Yeah, you know, they it's kind of in sketch comedy, the best troops have each member has iconic roles. They tend to play a lot of the same characters, and when they go against type, it feels like crazy. And as Auntie Donna has sort of evolved, it's been amazing to see them hew closer and closer to kind of like the roles that they tend to play. And like Broden is a little bit more sitcom dad oafish.
It's
right. Zach is dramatic, if not like
cartoonish.
Cartoonishly and blowhard. And Mark is just like a fucking goblin who keeps talking about cum and won't ever stop talking about cum.
It's almost as though, and this is how you know they're going to make it big, is you can kind of reduce each of them to a single musical note. It's like Mark is and Brodem is like and Zach is like it's like even if those are all wrong, the mere fact that sketch after sketch I can perceive that this is where the superposition collapses into. I don't know. They got success written all over them. I'm so excited for them.
Yeah. Oh God. I can't say enough about him. And that show looks so funny. And I'm just glad that like Netflix is the place where sketch comedy lives right now. Like, cause it certainly doesn't live on broadcast television. There's not really even any a cable television outlet where like past Key and Peele, and that was what, 5 years ago now that ended. Like there's not even really another place. That the funniest sketch comedy show in years was I Think You Should Leave.
Yep.
And now they're in that same place, which is amazing. I guess sketch comedy lives on YouTube, really, and that's where they got plucked from.
Yeah, no, they definitely crush it there. There was a brief moment where, like, I hope that something that I find funny will traverse the gap of generations to my kids. But it's like, I don't know. I was barely too young to love Monty Python as much as other people loved capital Loved Monty
Yeah.
Python. You know what I mean? Where and what I was afraid of sharing Auntie Donna with them is like, man, is this going to be like me freaking out about the spam skit and,
Yeah.
and not landing with the kids? But luckily, like, it was definitely one of those things like I'm playing it and my eyes are darting over to see if Penny's smiling or what have you. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I didn't really get into Monty Python until I got into performing sketch comedy. Like
Mhm.
I really got into Monty Python as more of like a scholarly pursuit of like understanding like, oh, okay, once you kind of break down like this is why they're brilliant. This is why these sketches are really well done. This is why these characters are connecting. Um because like sketch comedy's hard. And that's the thing about Auntie Donna is that like all of their premises are either like there's kind of two sketches that they do really really well. Either the like all we have is a conflict and we're just going to improvise it and we'll find it in the edit, or something that's like really intricate and it is like a very much like a writer's sketch, and the fact that they do both really well. And it's so funny, you see in the even in the trailer, a lot of it is them just being like the kicker at the end with like the touche. That's a very like them improving kind of thing. But then also you have the meta like oh, whenever I open this thing, it sounds like a man saying creak, and it's just Broden creak.
Yeah.
Yeah, creaking closed. But and that's a very writer's sketch because like
Well, and
that's a sketch that when you read it, it's fucking really funny. It's
Right.
like it's a funny thing to read that they bring to life.
it's mechanically intricate enough that even if you don't laugh out loud, you already admire the ambition of it. And I think like that's what the Ellen sketch live is, where it's like, holy crap, this is intricate and multi-nested, multi-layered, and there's these callbacks, and they're taking it to this absurd level or whatever. But then you take something like Same Ties, which is a one-note joke, if you want to call it multi-layered. They mentioned
Yeah.
pigeons, and that comes back layered, I guess. But like the stuff that I think it's
I mean, Same Ties is a performance sketch because it's not necessarily an improv sketch in that you could sense that they have found jokes just fucking around, but it is definitely like that's like almost like a dance number where
right.
it's like
Well, and dance is a good allegory, because what I was going to say
Yeah.
is it's almost sexual, where it's like, look, man, when you're doing sex, there's only one move, in and out, right? And now, what changes things is how the intensity, the emotion, the presentness, the what was boring becomes funny again in that
Yeah.
back and forth of comedy writing. I believe you and I are pretty good at the structural stuff and trying to go 7 layers deep in Inception and try to keep stuff afloat. Like structurally, it's easy to respect that stuff, but that raw, and again, maybe sexual is a loaded term, but I don't know how else to put it. Like at a raw humanistic level, the ability to take a very simplistic, quote unquote, dumb, goofy premise and write it all the way to boredom and back from the hinterlands to ecstasy is something very hard. I feel like you and I have kissed that as a duo
They're just
now and
I mean,
again,
what-
but
what-
they've got some talent in there.
Well, what we do is just a different level. I mean, it's just a different that's we are reading our short story aloud, and they are a multi-piece orchestra that's playing swing music. Like there's yes, it's both live performance, but that's pretty much where it ends. You know, their gift is that not only are they really funny writers and they trust each other so much improv wise, but all three of them are just insanely gifted performers.
Yeah.
And like, and you really pick it up when you watch them live and you realize like, there's no downtime. Like they literally just fucking rip through this like super high energy live show where there's dancing and singing and fucking costume changes, and it never ever stops. And that's like so anathema to everything that sketch comedy is about, where you are like, every sketch comedy show I've ever seen, and I've seen great ones, I've seen shit ones, they all are the same in that there's a beginning. Somebody walks into a shop or finds a Zeppelin on the side of the road, and there's a complication, there's a payoff, there's an end, and then the stage goes black, and then the stage lights come back up. Not the case with fucking Auntie Donna. Like they are, when you realize their live show is them taking that engine and fucking like pushing it as hard as it can go, like you're watching them do the equivalent of like stunt driving, and then realize, oh no, that's why they come across as explosive and engaging on the screen, is because they can also channel that there, which is tough. It really is.
Man, that experience of seeing them live in LA, it was a tidal wave. It was a hurricane on stage. It was a tornado. Like I just was so blown away by the polish, the completeness, the unrelenting pace of it. It was, God damn, I'm so excited for anybody who gets to see them live.
Oh, I guess I can tell this story now. So after the South by show that we did,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, here's what's happening. Over the next year, we're doing 2 more shows, and we're fucking going to the major markets. We're doing LA, we're doing New York. Like I will take care of it. But here are the things that we know now for success. We know that we're best when we can rope some friends to be around. And we know that we can actually make it pay for itself and not be a total money suck. And we can have more fun if we do a big, fun VIP thing.
Right.
And so like New York, well, I've already told this story, but we were going to do, because Billy Joel plays there or played there once a month, we were going to do we'll get the shittiest fucking seats, but it doesn't matter. We're in Madison Square Garden. We're watching Billy Joel, and we would get like a pack of 10, sell that for the VIP. We do drinks before and after. And we would play at the theater, the last theater that I did sketch comedy at. It was going to be like this big thing. They never got back to me. I was going to exercise my demons. I don't even know if I told you, but I was going to bring back one of the guys that was in the sketch comedy group that lives in Connecticut or New Hampshire, I forget. But I wanted to get him back down, and then the pit never got back to me until literally the week before that I'd proposed, and they were like, "Oh, hey, you're on the schedule. We never emailed you back. Are you still doing this show?"
We did talk about this, yeah.
But what I didn't say was that there was the LA thing, and I had sent an email to Auntie Donna, and I was like, "Guys, let me know when you're doing your American tour."
Because I'm going to assume there's American tour around the corner.
Yeah, because you've done an American tour for the last 4 years. I would presume you would do another one this time. I would presume that LA or California would be on that. And if you have time, in that schedule, I would love, or you're planning it, I would love to try and get in on the early discussion to see whether or not we could do a joint show together, because that would be great. And they never said why. But they were like, and I forgot who, I don't even know if I know who initially had emailed.
How did it sound? Did it sound like, did it sound like, or did it sound like,
it sounded, so I'm assuming it was Broden. But they were like, hey man, no American tour this year. And I was like, that's not a lot of words. That seems odd. It seems like there's more to this story than just what it is. And then when they showed up on the Netflix is a joke comedy festival thing that was supposed to happen, I was like,
Like, hold on. Seems to me like Netflix is a joke wouldn't go to just random outside,
it wouldn't just
talented comedians.
fly an Australian comedy act when they're not doing an American tour, and I know they're not doing an American tour because, so I presumed it was probably toward the end when they were going to do that comedy festival. It was probably toward the end of them shooting out here, but they couldn't say that they were shooting out here because it's a top secret thing.
Man,
also they're also very, very secretive about their shit anyway. Like they are very like, hey, we're doing a thing.
Yeah, that's probably responsible of them. like that's probably a grown-up way to handle things.
It's hard, man. It's hard because I've only recently tried to capture some of that energy of like, don't fucking micro analyze and micro broadcast every project that you're ever doing. And it sucks. It's hard. It's so much easier when you can talk through it with the audience that you've become so comfortable with.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So I don't know if we talked about this. Let me speak in as veiled terms as I can. But there was I don't know. It seems like once a year, maybe twice a year, somebody from Hollywood stumbles across one of the online projects and hits us up or whatever. And it's been enough times on enough of these projects that we had a Zoom meeting with somebody who was, and they always ask the same goddamn questions where it's like, they don't mean to condescend, but what they're saying is some version of, well, I understand that works on YouTube, but on television, you can't spend 20 minutes talking about how whiskey's made. And I'm like, yes, and the reason it's 20 minutes is because YouTube rewards viewer minutes of engagement, not views.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Like, every year, there's another Hollywood person, and I always hope they'll work out. Lately, I have increasingly flexed. And this last time, I full on flexed to the tune of quoting actual gross numbers per year and explaining why after you, somebody else will come. And if you want to play, then play. But if anything about what I'm saying is not matching your template for the way new talent is supposed to react, understand it's because we've fucking won, and then we won because we stepped outside of Hollywood. And this is literally, I mentioned dollar amounts of how much we gross per year. So happy for you to be the latest in a crew, but understand and the guy's like, well, how would you rethink this as a TV show? I'm like, it's dumb as shit. You take one of the 320 proven public ideas that have already made hundreds of thousands of views, and then you turn up the contrast in terms of stakes, and you change it with this narrative framework, and you do whatever. This isn't rocket science. I understand your job is to, I didn't say this, but behind the scenes, it was sort of like, I understand it's your job as a producer to make me feel intimidated and like I'm being given a rare opportunity. Thank you. I've had that opportunity. We know what it looks like. We know what it pays. Here's what it actually pays in dollars. Here's the orders of magnitude more that we've made by going independent. If you would like to participate in all of this, then by all means, let's go ahead. But forgive me if I don't freak the fuck out.
Well, beyond that, it's like, all right, we're looking for a partner. Like, you are looking for an employee.
Right. You are looking for a gold nugget that you found in a river.
So, like, how about this? You want to know how we're going to adapt it to television? I would ask you, the television person, to pitch me, the talent and owner of the IP, exactly how you would do it. If I don't like it, I will walk away.
There was definitely... Okay, so here's the co-flexing moment. Is I flex by saying numbers. Like, I start quoting actual numbers where it's like, hey, been through this dance a few times. Let's talk real numbers. This is where we're at. This is what it's going to take to get us on board. And he's like, well, do you think your partner would be into? Do you think you could adapt? Do you think this, that, whatever? And I'm like, yes, for all these reasons. And then I say, this is at minute 41 of a 43-minute conversation. I say, hey, sorry, not for nothing, but do you have something I could take to my partner to explain why we should go with you? And he goes, well, my IMDb. And then so I call up his IMDb. I'm like, is this the one? And he goes, haha, yeah, that's me at the Emmys. Missed it that year. And I was like, oh, an Emmy. And then I ran 5 feet over there and came back with an Emmy and sat it down. And I was like,
that's great.
I was like, that's not my Emmy. That's just a friend's or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what I said. But basically I was just like, I don't know, television, man. I'm so like what's funny is even though I was doing it as a joke, I'm like, in my magician's mind, I'm like, he will not be able to unsee me holding
You
this
with an Emmy,
statue.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
no matter what the reason, no matter what the gag, no matter what the joke, when he goes to sleep, he'll have a picture of me holding this. And I don't know. We'll see if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's my big thing is just the arrogance of like, oh, well, like we all know that you've been waiting for my call. Well, your lucky day, but don't get too high because you have a lot of work to do, mister. For me, a person for whom will probably only cost you time and likely money. And it's just, it's so ridiculous.
It's a little bit of like the claim that I hear is, well, television's not like YouTube, by which he means, it's a more sophisticated art. But what I blurt out inappropriately is, yeah, it's just dumber, shorter plots with simpler outcomes and more fake. Have I missed anything? That's television versus YouTube, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's look, television is great. It's tremendous, a tremendous platform if you're on the right thing. It can also be a hall of hell if you are trapped in a relationship for which you don't get either financial or artistic rewards from. But yeah, look, I've been through good situations with that and bad situations with that. It's always something that I would encourage anybody who gets involved in any kind of adaptation scenario. Let it be just this weird side thing that it's like
yes.
the world's slowest developing scratch off lottery ticket where you're only allowed to like have one pinky's worth of scrape every day, and the a scratch off ticket is like 3 inches thick of the scratch off material. Like that's what you want. So by the time that you finally get down to the card and you're like, oh, I didn't win. You're like, oh, well, at least I was doing all these other things and I wasn't like pegging my hopes on it.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the motivation. It's like, hey man, I've done this scratch off. I know how it ends. It ends up with me not winning. Can we skip to the part where I don't win? Or are you a winning scratch off lottery ticket? There are some scratch offs that are literally designed to be like grading homework. They take 20 minutes long so that you preserve the feeling intentionally. So you preserve the feeling that you might be about to win for the maximum amount of time. And in that conversation, I was like, yeah, I derived no joy from any of this. Can we skip to the part where I either won or did not? Let me just lay everything on the table. Here's poor negotiation techniques, blah, blah, blah. And then when it was over, I called the other half of this operation and said, hey, this is kind of how I handled things. Is that okay? And I got a resounding yes, thank you. like skip to the part. Like are they real or not, or what have you?
Yeah, it's a shout out to everybody who makes TV. It's its own weird thing. The more you know about it, I think the better off you are, because you realize like these conversations that you have with production companies, the production company gets paid if they make a pilot or even a test tape.
Right.
Like, they're getting money from a network to do a thing. So they just need to have a pitch that they can then get money to do a thing with. And then obviously they only really cash in if it goes to series, but like the people that they're hiring, the organization uh shoots pilots and does that with the money they get from the network. So, and even then for them doing a bunch of pilots that kind of are liked but aren't greenlit are good for them with the network or with an executive at the network as a relationship builder.
Right.
You are just grist for the mill. Like you are just like the guy who's there. And that's, we've talked about this before, but there is no more sobering moment when you are new to television and you are on a set, and on day one it feels like summer camp and you're meeting all these cool new people and you're like best friends with the sound guy and everybody's like high-fiving and it's super cool. And then you realize very quickly, like as you get closer, that everybody else is automatically kind of like shutting off their like friendship gates because they know that it's a transient world. Like they know that they're off to the next town next month. For you, you're like, the circus is here, all of my best circus friends. And they're like, all right, kid, well, you want to know what? I think that we're going to come back to your town. I think we'll come back to your town and never leave. But for right now, we got to go. And they know it's forever. And you're just like, oh, well, let's keep in touch. Right. And off they go.
Yeah. And in spite of all of that, much like a summer camp situation, you know, you do develop some connections and people you can call years afterwards or whatever. But
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah.
definitely remember doing the TV show at Nat Geo. It maybe not Machiavellian, just practical. It's like, hey, we're all going to summer camp, as you put it, for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. So it seems like I should make a gesture to everybody that I appreciate them being here and so on. So I gave everybody a gift of one of those utility multi-tools. And one of them was like, nobody has ever done this. And it's like, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Like, nobody has ever, on the first day of production, given out a gift to everybody the way you did. And then one guy raised his hand. It was like, you know what? Actually, I was going to agree, but technically one time this has happened before. And it was when I worked with Brian on the specials. And then I was like, well, that's cool. So who wants to try really hard to make a good thing?
Yeah, right.
But
they're it's a weird business, man. It is. It is just odd. Like,
well, it's just it's
cold.
It's an inefficient business, is what it is, right?
And that's
there's
the weird
a lot
part,
of
is that it's inefficient and it's a relationship business,
right?
Which means by its nature, there's a lot of broken relationships. There's a lot of fracture and static to the relationships, which is in a field of, you know, television's weird because it's like simultaneously drama queens, nerds, and auto mechanics. You know, like there's like a lot of people that are just kind of there because they know a trade and that's what they do and that's what their focus is. And then there's a lot of egos around these largely egoless kind of people. And it's weird. And then you're best friends, and then you've never seen anyone ever again constantly.
Well, and also I feel a little bit blessed that the production that I was on had so few people, because when you have 5 people, the person who happens to be holding the camera can notice like a hair across your cheek and just walk over and say, hang on, let me get that for you, right? But once you get to 30 people and you get unions involved and you get whatever, where it's like the person holding the camera can see, yeah, there's definitely a big old hair laying across their cheek, but I dare not step out of my zone because that belongs to makeup and hair. And if I do, then it'll be a thing and whatever. And it becomes like the stupidity translates directly into wasted dollars. And if anything, the YouTube production is even smaller. You know, you've got exactly 4 people on set and 2 of them are talent and everybody's going to each other. And yes, it's lower fidelity, but also it's highly, highly efficient in terms of you know, everybody is doing all of the jobs for each other.
Yeah, it's dude, creating things.
Hey,
The,
so
the good news is that it's so easy to create stuff that at least people understand the basic fundamentals. And once you understand how to make a thing, a YouTube video, and you understand like, okay, well, I have to shoot it, I have to edit it, I have to write it, I have to star in it, I have to like rewrite it to make it good. Then you can just basically take all of those actions, and as soon as you've done them all, you can realize, oh, these are all people, sometimes multiple people, and that's where you scale up the thing. So it's like, you know, for you, it's a group of 4 or 5 that are there on set for a Modern Rogue shoot, like, but that's because like functionally it would be the same if you did everything. You would just realize, oh, this would be better if there were dedicated people around it. And I think that that's both the best and the worst thing for television, in that if and when people get there, they're going to understand, like, hopefully if you have a production company that you work well with, how to maximize that, because you have some idea of what happens beyond the camera if you do YouTube. But on the other hand, there's the egos. And like you said before, with the hair across the face, sometimes people don't want to step aside.
okay, so we got just a few minutes. Where we at on politics? What's the latest I should know?
Debate tonight. They're
Yeah.
gonna debate tonight.
In my imagination, I would imagine that Trump would do quite well if he was smiling and pleasant and all inclusive and drew a bigger circle around himself and included the whole country and basically said, "Hey, man, I know I'm bombastic. I know I'm outrageous, but my policies are good. Look at all the things that I did. Look at my vision for the future. Vaccines should be here in a matter of weeks. Vote for me." I don't think he'll do any of those things. You?
I would bet against it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would bet against it. The mics will be muted in the first 2 minutes when each candidate gets the question. You will be able to answer that for 2 minutes uninterrupted, and then they'll go back and forth. So, to be honest, I kind of think that it will probably benefit Trump, because I do think that his problem with the last debate wasn't necessarily that he didn't debate better than Joe Biden, and he wasn't more convincing or funny. It was that he just fucking wouldn't stop talking. And it's like at a certain point, everybody loves the football team that keeps scoring. Nobody loves the football team that keeps dancing in the end zone and then refuses to kick the ball off because they're now going to litigate their right to dance in the end zone forever. There's nothing in the rule book that says that we can't dance in the end zone forever. And now I'm going to appeal it to the Supreme Court, and we're going to need to convene the Supreme Court to decide whether or not we're allowed to continue dancing in the end zone. It's just even the crowd that's really excited, the hometown crowd, is going to boo eventually. And I think that was his problem.
Yeah, legit point. I enjoyed you popping up on the political orphanage today, promoting Andrew's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Man, dude, I don't even know what to wish you in this moment of white hot crystallization of everybody's frustrations.
See, actually. Holy shit, Heaton. Six patrons away from 600. 6 away from 600.
Dude. So well deserved.
Yeah. You know, I remember he was like 50 away from 500 when he first was coming out here. So he has done well. And
hasn't he done well?
He has done very, very well.
So
and I'm super pumped about it. I'm very, very glad that he came out here, and he was on PX3, both in the main feed yesterday and then on the bonus feed. The bonus feed today was actually really good. We went and did a deep dive on Shining City on a Hill, the phrase Shining City on a Hill.
Yeah, you guys did your best to inhabit the spirit of Ronald Reagan for that.
Well, yeah, we wound up talking about the Christian origins of it, the political use of it, and then it wound up getting into a conversation about American exceptionalism, and if the American unexceptionalism, i.e., the like America is the worst country in the world, if that is a form of American exceptionalism, if you're loudly complaining about how we are the worst, nobody has ever fucked up like us.
Are you secretly
all these
bragging
others-
about how we're exceptional
all these
in this
other-
new direction?
Exactly.
Wow, that's
all
funny.
these other elements of like Europe. How long have you been around? You never fucked up like we did. We're the worst.
We're the most honest fuck ups on the planet. We're the Always Sunny of Philadelphia. Fuck you.
Exactly. So yeah, that's on my $3 club stuff, and then I'll be doing for Heaton tomorrow after the debate, and he'll be on my live stream tonight. But after the debate, we're gonna do a little debate recap together.
Hot damn. All right, look, let's wrap it up. Thank you to everybody who shows up for every happy hour. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Happy hour. Nat Attacks Happy Hour. Nat Attacks Happy Hour.